I'm Mark Ramsey. I'm thrilled today to be talking to Barry Loeffler. Barry is the CEO of 1360 WCHL and the anchor behind something really interesting called chapelboro.com, which is connected to WCHL. Is it not, Barry?
It is. It's the website of the radio station, but also of the community. It's much more than just a radio station website.
Yeah, I think it's worth mentioning that you're doing something really interesting. It's been described to me that you're getting roughly 20 times the internet revenue of the typical AM radio station. And I think it's safe to say that's because you don't envision your brand as a radio station. You envision your brand as a local media company with many tentacles. Is that right?
Absolutely. We are doing our best to get our product and our content out across as many platforms as possible. We've got the AM radio station, which has been in the Chapel Hill area now for 59 years. We're getting ready to launch an FM translator in a couple of months. We've got this chapelboro.com website, which is its own separate business entity within our larger entity, and we're also pushing out our content. So through the website, we've got streaming audio through the website, through iTunes. We just launched our app in the iPhone store, and we've got our mobile version of our website as well.
Now, Barry, what's interesting is that Chapelboro, most people when they say, well, let me do the website for my AM station, you'll see there are the call letters big in the corner, there's the personalities, there's profiles on who's on the air and what time, and maybe their own individual blogs and the click to stream and all that. And that's pretty much the end of it. You built chapelboro.com completely differently from that. Talk about what you did and why you did it.
Well, when I got to the radio station a few years ago, the station was fabulous. Like I said, I've been in the community almost 6 decades, great staff, great personalities, great sound. And our website, not so much. It was actually pretty awful. It was built on a CMS 7 years ago. I couldn't even tell you what it was built on, being held together with Scotch tape. And so we went out to say we need to redo our website. But instead of just doing another kind of site that was just going to regurgitate the content we're airing, we said, let's think a little bit bigger and how can we serve the community and create original content in a different way. And so we set out to do that, and we kind of got going and said, but if we're going to cover the local food scene, because this is Foodie Town USA here, people aren't going to really think about going to a radio station website for food coverage. Or if we're going to cover local gardening, which is a big deal here, you're not going to think about going to a news and sports radio station website. And so as great as our local radio brand is, and like I said, for almost 60 years, we said, we need to call this thing something else so that it's got its own brand identity. And that kind of set us down the road of saying, how do we create this digital town square online? And let's come up with a different brand name. And we serve the communities of Chapel Hill and Carborough primarily. And so it's kind of a play on words of that. And the name has kind of taken off, and people are starting to refer to the area that way. And it's, so far, the reception's been great.
So now you've said a couple things which I find striking. One is that you began the process by saying, let's not begin by saying we're a radio station. How do we create a radio station website? You began by saying we're a broadcast entity, a media company in this community. How do we serve the needs of the community in a way that matters to that community? And I don't mean this in the public radio sense, nor do you. What I mean is, if I'm an individual, a consumer, what will I be interested in that WCHL can provide me on a digital platform? And that's really the question you asked to begin with, right?
Absolutely. And at the core of it, we still serve up all of the news and sports coverage that we produce every day, and the radio station still has its own section amongst the bigger website. We're able to do more things with news and sports, like full interviews and the typical things. But then we've got about 20 local people writing blogs on a weekly to twice a month basis on a variety of hyper niche topics within this hyper local environment. So we have food writers, we've got people writing about parenting and photography and sports and entertainment and parenting and
okay, Barry, let me stop you there. Let me stop you there. You found all these people. How and how much are you paying them?
We're paying them nothing. They are mutually beneficial partnerships. We provide the platform for people to express themselves or to bring their passions to life, and we get great content, and we
This
vet
is
them out. And
this is the thing that amazes me because I mean, every radio station needs to understand that the platform that they have is huge. I mean, we talk about the
yes,
value of reach, and it's massive. And they also, at the same time, talk about the lack of time because everyone's so stretched. Well, time doesn't grow on trees, but people do. And every one of these brands has fans, people who want to be in the presence of that huge umbrella of attention that the radio station or the local media company can provide, right?
absolutely right. And we started by finding some people because nobody knew that we were looking for this, and our goal was to launch last May with 6 writers. With the hope of getting to a dozen by the end of the first year. We ended up launching with 10, and then as people started discovering the website, they started coming to us. And so it's a combination of people coming to us looking to write for the site and us going and finding people.
So, which is another way of saying a content orientation, not just a promotional orientation for the radio assets, right?
Absolutely. I mean, we do a little bit of promotion on it, but we do a lot of heavy promotion on the radio station for the website because it's the big megaphone that helps launch new products for our advertisers as well as
Sure.
for us. And then the website hopefully delivers some of the radio station content, but a lot of original content. If you look there, you'll see these local buzz columns. You'll see lots of pictures. We get out to events and take pictures of people all the time. We've got really the one-stop shopping for community calendar, which I know doesn't sound very sexy, but when you're looking for something to do, you don't want to go searching 10 million places. And we create a social aspect right in the middle of the page, there's a list of names of people in the community, and that's a live list of people who are either mentioned in a news story, in a blog post, we've taken their picture, they've been on the radio, and it's live, so it constantly updates. It's not a name, it's not a cloud tag where the mayor's name is always gigantic and my name is always tiny. Everybody's level loaded, they're equal, but it answers the question of why are they there? What are they doing? And we said about the whole approach to the website is inherently people want to read, hear, and see about themselves and the people they know, right? Because we've all got a little ego, and we want to know if we're in the news or on the page, and if we're not, we want to know who is, and we either know everybody in town or we're going to know them soon enough. So there's a little social aspect that goes on as well.
So, social aspect, to translate that, what you're really doing is creating a website that's about you rather than you, the audience, rather than me, the station, right?
Absolutely. One of the when we did this names module idea, we thought, well, it's going to be great for stickiness, which it is, because people kind of discover new things in new areas and they go out all over. It's good for return visits because people may want to check the list every day to see who's on there. But one of the unintended consequences, or one unintended positive consequences, has been that we're creating this digital history of our community as told by the people who live, work, and play here.
Now, the average broadcaster goes to your site, I think, is going to have the following reaction. Wow, there's an awful lot of content there. This looks
Yes.
really hard and it looks really expensive. True or false?
True that it is busy. We're constantly tinkering and thinking about how to, we've actually given a lot of thought to how the content is organized and how you don't see ads throughout the page all over the place. It's just down the top and it's organized down the right rail, just like news content is or photos are. So yes, true, it's busy. Not true, it did not cost us a lot to do. We got some quotes on building it custom that were ridiculous, but we found some great solutions and didn't cost us a lot. The biggest cost that we've decided to invest in is the people cost. So as I said, we've set it up as its own business unit. So it has a couple of people who care for and take care of the content and the technical part of the website every day. And then we've got a dedicated sales staff of a few people, and they just go out and they sell digital. So our radio sellers sell radio, our digital folks sell digital. Occasionally they'll do some four-legged calls, but that's where we decided to invest in the people part, feeling that if we had all this original content, we would create an environment that not only would be good for people to come consume, but also a way for our local advertising community to get their messages out to where the masses are going. And there really is no other way for our local advertising community to reach a targeted local audience on the web, other than we think what we're doing right now in some very large numbers way.
So quantify for me the success that you've had with this.
I guess we'll quantify it in two ways. One would be on users and one would be on dollars. So on users, we started, like I said, May 1st last year at about an average of 25,000 unique visitors per month, and that's what we're measuring. Really don't focus on page views and other things, but it's really about the people coming. And we are now up almost a year later to averaging just under 40,000 unique visitors a month. And then on the money side, we're booking true incremental money for our business. It really has not taken away much of anything from the radio station because we've got these separate selling teams out there selling what they specialize in and selling these platforms. And monetary wise, it's ahead of our projections. After the third month, we started billing more than what we are spending on a monthly basis. So I'm obviously very happy with that. And in the first calendar year of operation, our total revenues for the company, the digital product, should account for about 25% of our total company revenue. So that's from last year, a year ago now, or a year ago, May 1st, from 0 to 25%. And we think in year 2 we can push that up even further.
That's awesome. So here's the tough question. What advice would you offer to the broadcaster who looks at this and says, the problem is I've got to get over that hump. The hump that is, I invest the resources in this new adventure, I hire dedicated sellers for this new adventure, I enlist the efforts of bloggers and content people in this new adventure. There is an upfront expense which is not fully liquidated for months, right?
Yes, correct.
What is your advice to a broadcaster who needs to cross that hump from where they are into that inevitable future that is both digital and radio?
I think it's just about, one, it's Nike, just do it. And two, it is, have some faith that this works and that you're committed to it. And then you just got to stick to it. You got to stick to the sales principles. You got to stick to making sure that every time somebody comes to the site, there's going to be fresh content for them to see. And, it's like we tell our advertisers, we all try and get people to commit to annual contracts because it's the frequency over a long period of time that proves over time that marketing works. Well, this is kind of the same thing. We just need to take our own medicine, which is, make some good decisions, invest wisely, and then be committed to sticking to it. I mean, this was not easy overall, one, from an implementation point of view, because we were trying to do it with not a whole lot of incremental staff at the very beginning. And it's not easy from a culture change. We went from having to create a culture where our AEs sold everything or had the ability to sell everything. We didn't really have any way to serve ads, but to separate it out and to make sure that our radio people were taken care of and understood why we were going with this different model on sales, and changing the culture, and then changing our culture from to a web first approach. Everything we think about and that we do for the most part is web first, unless we're about to go on air. First thing we do is we it's the continuous newsroom model that has been we've all been talking about for a while, but we're practicing it. It goes out on Twitter and Facebook first, and then it goes up online, and then we add more stuff to it. And in the meantime, during news updates, we get it on air. We come back, we finish the story, we republish online, then it goes on air. I mean, it's just taking this philosophy and being committed to it, and knowing that there's going to be some tough times, and getting the community excited about it. I think, we also use, like I said earlier, we use the radio station as the megaphone. We followed our own marketing advice that we give to our advertisers every day. We typically don't do a great job of marketing ourselves, so we just try to take that same advice and using our own airwaves as a way to help solidify what we're doing, and now it's taken root and it's going. We tell our team, we talk all the time that, the smaller we go, the bigger we're going to be. And, right now we're a small company with big aspirations, but we have to think that way. I mean, this is this little standalone AM radio station in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and we could just say we're just going to do the radio station and have a nice little website, or we can make the decision that we can be bigger, that there are future revenue streams to be had, that it doesn't have to take away from the radio station in any way. In fact, people are discovering the radio station by discovering Chapelboro and then seeing where is this content coming from and finding us on the radio for the first time. So there is some back and forth as well. A
little radio station in Chapel Hill, North Carolina that just happens to have about 20 times the average internet revenue of the typical AM radio station. Barry Loeffler is the CEO of 1360 WCHL and the driving force behind chapelboro.com. Barry, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.